Emma, this is simply not acceptable. Veronica's voice sliced through the noise in the room, clear and commanding. Do you truly grasp the gravity of the situation at hand? This isn't just a simple gathering. This is my wedding. Emma clutched the edge of the countertop, her knuckles paling to a ghostly white. I apologize, Ms. Davenport. I will rectify the situation right away, she stated, her tone steady yet resolute. Correct it. Resolve it. The soufflé has already collapsed, Emma. Are you considering a journey to the past to revive it once more? Veronica's heels echoed sharply against the tiled floor as she approached, her words laced with malice. Sometimes, I find myself questioning the reasons behind Adrien's family keeping you in their lives. Charity, I presume. Emma straightened her posture, forcing down the lump that had begun to rise in her throat. I'll create a fresh one, and it will be ready before dinner starts. Enough with the dramatics. If you had handled your responsibilities properly from the beginning, we wouldn't find ourselves in this situation, Veronica retorted, pivoting sharply. This is not a kitchen. This is a spectacle. The atmosphere in the room was hushed, punctuated only by the soft clinking of utensils, while the staff deliberately averted their gazes. Veronica surveyed the throng of spectators, clearly reveling in the spotlight. This should serve as a valuable lesson for all present. Incompetence will not be accepted. Veronica. Adrien's voice pierced the stillness, steady yet soothing. He lingered at the threshold, hands tucked into his pockets, his deep-set eyes surveying the surroundings. That will suffice. She pivoted quickly, the rehearsed smile wavering briefly before she regained her composure. Adrien, my dear, I didn't notice your presence. I have no doubt you didn't. His tone was sharp, and his eyes flicked between Veronica and Emma. What is happening in this situation? Veronica's smile grew broader, yet it failed to illuminate her eyes. Just making sure your team recognizes the significance of today. The dessert fell short of expectations, so I brought it to attention. That concludes everything. Adrien moved across the room, positioning himself between her and Emma. Is it really necessary to undermine Emma in front of the whole group? Is that the way you approach it? Veronica's cheeks turned a deep shade of crimson, and her voice lowered to a sharp whisper. Are you really supporting her at this moment? This isn't about sides, Adrien said, his voice elevating slightly to capture the attention of the nearby guests. This concerns fundamental respect. This is not how you should treat others, Veronica. Neither Emma nor anyone else. She's the cook? Adrien, Veronica exclaimed, her voice filled with disbelief, and this is our wedding. A single mistake won't be the end of it for me. It's a rehearsal dinner, not a press conference, Adrien retorted, and if this is how you cope with stress, perhaps we should reconsider a few matters. The atmosphere in the room thickened with every utterance. Veronica's lips parted and shut as if she were poised to dispute. Yet the rising tide of murmurs from the staff and guests restrained her. Adrien, she finally uttered, her voice a taut murmur. This isn't the moment. Perhaps not, he replied, but I refuse to sit idly by while you belittle someone who has dedicated her entire life to this place simply because you're having a rough day. He glanced at Emma, a gentle warmth spreading across his face. Emma, how are you holding up? Emma paused, feeling the weight of all those gazes upon her, uncertain of how to reply. I appreciate your concern. I'm doing well. Apologize to her, Adrien said, his tone now icy as he faced Veronica once more. Veronica chuckled, yet the sound held no trace of amusement. Surely you must be kidding. I'm not, Adrien stated bluntly. Her eyes darted across the room, registering the attention from the onlookers. Gradually, she pivoted toward Emma, her jaw clenched. I'm sorry, she said, each syllable heavy with reluctance. Emma nodded silently, her response unspoken. There was no necessity for her to do so. The stillness in the room spoke volumes. Excellent, Adrien remarked. At this moment, if you wouldn't mind, I must have a private conversation with my fiancé. Veronica's smile returned, fragile and forced. Absolutely, my dear. As they exited the room, the whispers that trailed behind them intensified. Emma let out a slow breath, her hands quivering as she reached for the tray of failed soufflés. She was acutely aware of the unspoken inquiries swirling in the thoughts of those around her. What was happening with Adrien and Veronica? And, crucially, what part did she have in it? Veronica burst into the parlor, her heels echoing sharply against the marble floor. Adrien trailed behind, his composed presence igniting her simmering anger. She whirled, her gaze aflame. What on earth was that, Adrien? Are you attempting to humiliate me in front of the whole group? She snapped, her voice reverberating against the lofty ceilings. Adrien closed the door softly, resting against it with his arms folded across his chest. You really put yourself in a tough spot, Veronica. It was unnecessary to treat Emma in such a degrading manner. She's just the help. Veronica spat, her cheeks flushed with anger. Are you treating her as if she's some fragile blossom? She aired, and I provided the necessary correction. The conclusion has been reached. Adrien's jaw clenched. You failed to correct her. You shattered her in front of an audience. Are you aware of how harsh your words came across? Harsh? Veronica let out a derisive laugh. I'm the one bearing all the weight in this situation. The weight of my family's name, my reputation, and everything I hold dear rests on the need for this wedding to be flawless. You're supposed to have my back, not undermine me. Supporting you doesn't equate to ignoring your missteps, Adrien remarked. His voice remained calm, yet a sharpness had crept in. It seems you've been navigating quite a few of them recently. She stood still, her face transforming from fury to disbelief. What does that imply? Adrien stepped away from the door, his hands dropping to his sides. This entire wedding, this entire relationship, has transformed into something I can hardly recognize now. There was a time filled with laughter, Veronica. We once relished the moments spent together. Now it revolves around appearances, control, and he waved his hand, looking for the perfect term. Achieving success. This feels like a challenge you must overcome. Veronica's lips pressed together into a narrow line. Is this focused on Emma, then? Isn't that what you're truly implying? This isn't about her, Adrien stated with a cutting edge. This concerns both of us, highlighting your inability to look beyond your own self-importance to understand that you're pushing everyone away. Her gaze sharpened, her voice descending into a hushed, menacing whisper. Do not even think about placing the blame on me. For months now, you've kept your distance, Adrien. It's you who has transformed, not I. Adrien gazed at her intently, his face a mask of mystery. At last, he remarked, perhaps I have. The words lingered in the atmosphere, dense and burdensome. Veronica's expression twisted, revealing a fleeting moment of vulnerability. Yet, the fleeting moment vanished as swiftly as it arrived, and she aligned her posture, her eyes sharpening with resolve. If you walk away from this, Adrien, there's no coming back, she said quietly, her voice quivering with suppressed rage. Adrien remained unfazed. I'm here, but I won't act like everything is okay either. Veronica let out a harsh laugh. All right, you seek the truth? Your proposal marked the beginning of my disappointment in you. I believed I was uniting with a partner who would support me, someone who recognized the significance of what we are creating together. What I receive is this. She gestured dismissively at him, as if he were merely a child in the throes of a tantrum. Adrien's expression remained unchanged, yet his voice took on a chilling tone. If that's your perception of me, then what are we even engaging in this for? Veronica paused, her silence stretching out in the air. Her eyes flitted around the room, as if seeking something to ground her. At last, she declared, I've put in too much effort to allow a mere cook and your unexpected sense of morality to destroy it all. Adrien shook his head, a clear expression of his disappointment on his face. This isn't about Emma, and if you believe this wedding is merely a competition for some fictitious reward, then perhaps you're choosing the wrong partner. Veronica began to speak, but Adrien cut her off before she could finish. He pivoted and exited the room, leaving her there, bewildered and solitary. In the kitchen, Emma struggled to concentrate on the task at hand, her hands shaking uncontrollably. The whispers among the remaining staff had persisted ever since Adrien and Veronica departed. Emma, her father's voice interrupted her reverie. Robert, the steadfast butler of the Sinclair family, remained by her side, his demeanor serious. "Are you okay?" She gave a swift nod, her voice betraying her uncertainty. "I'm doing well. I must return to my tasks." "Emma, pay attention," Robert insisted, his voice resolute. "No one should be subjected to such treatment. Indeed, no one does. If you choose to go, please know that I'll be just fine. I am prepared for anything that may arise." She gazed up at him, her eyes brimming with unfallen tears. "I can't simply walk away, Dad. I've dedicated my entire career to this place, just as you have." Robert rested his hand gently on her shoulder. "You shouldn't have to put up with this." Just as Emma was about to reply, the kitchen door burst open. Adrien entered the room, his eyes locking onto hers without hesitation. The atmosphere shifted as he approached, disregarding the whispers from the staff. "Emma," he murmured gently, "may we have a conversation?" She paused, casting a fleeting look at her father. He offered her a subtle nod, retreating slightly to allow them a moment of private conversation. Adrien's eyes held a depth that was hard to define, a mix of guilt and regret swirling within them. "I apologize for the earlier incident. That was uncalled for." "It's fine," she replied hastily, avoiding his eyes. "There's no need for an apology." "Absolutely, I do," he asserted with conviction, "and I want you to understand that I will ensure it doesn't occur again." Emma finally lifted her gaze to meet his, her heart racing. At a loss for words, she chose to respond with a simple nod. As Adrien turned to leave, she felt an undeniable sense that this was merely the onset of something grander and infinitely more intricate than either of them had ever envisioned. The imposing oak doors of Adrien's study crashed closed behind Veronica as she stepped in, her anger simmering just beneath the surface. "You brought me shame, Adrien, in front of the entire crowd. Are you aware of the impression that creates for me?" Adrien turned to face her, composed yet clearly exhausted. "I did not bring you shame, Veronica. You accomplished that entirely by yourself." Her eyes grew large with astonishment. "Is this for real at this moment? Do you really believe that standing up for her, your cook, instead of your fiancé isn't embarrassing for me? Folks are bound to have their say, Adrien. They are already in existence." "Let them talk," Adrien retorted, his tone now more cutting. "I'm weary of putting on a facade that all is well when it truly isn't. Your preoccupation with others' opinions has led you to overlook the importance of treating them as genuine individuals." Veronica folded her arms, her demeanor becoming frigid. "Spare me the lecture on fairness in how we treat others. I have endured your emotional detachment for months. If anyone's forgotten how to behave like a decent person, it's you," Adrien said, exhaling heavily as he ran a hand through his hair. "I won't engage in this with you, Veronica. Not this evening." "No, you're not," she retorted sharply. "You will pay attention. I've poured my heart and soul into this relationship, Adrien. I've gone to great lengths to ensure this succeeds. Do you really believe I want to navigate your brooding silences and your endless doubts? For that reason, I don't." Adrien's patience finally broke. "So, what keeps you here, Veronica? What is the reason we continue with this?" Her gaze sharpened. "Do not pretend that you are the one who has been wronged in this situation. You were the one who made the proposal to me. You were the one who desired this wedding." "Indeed, I did," Adrien confessed, his tone gentle for a brief instant. "Because I believed I was in love with you. I believed we shared something genuine. Yet, at some point, this ceased to revolve around us. It turned into a matter of facades and dominance, and I'm uncertain what else to add." "So, you believe you're in love with her now, do you?" Veronica's voice carried a hushed, acrid tone. Adrien blinked, momentarily taken aback. "What do you mean? This isn't related to Emma." "Don't lie to me." Veronica's voice escalated. "Your distance has been palpable since her return. Your gaze lingers on her as if she holds the key to every dilemma you face. But she's merely the assistance, Adrien. That is the extent of her existence. Adrien's face set into a steely resolve. Refrain from speaking of her in that manner. Veronica's laughter echoed, a sharp and joyless note in the air. You're truly remarkable. You believe you're a valiant champion defending the helpless chef. She is below your level, Adrien. If you fail to recognize that, perhaps you are also below my level. The words lingered in the atmosphere, sharp and stinging. Adrien stepped back, his jaw clenched. Perhaps I am. In that fleeting moment, silence enveloped them both. Then Veronica straightened her posture, smoothing her dress as if readying herself for a fierce confrontation. Are you looking to destroy this? All right, but don't anticipate my silence. This will come back to haunt you, Adrien. She spun on her heel, leaving no room for a reply, and marched out of the study, the door crashing shut in her wake. In the cozy kitchen, Emma settled at the table, cradling a warm cup of tea in her hands. The kitchen staff had retired for the night, leaving her in solitude with her reflections. She gazed at the cup, reflecting on the evening's events in her thoughts. She was oblivious to her father's approach until the sound of the chair scraping against the floor broke her concentration. You really ought to take a break, Robert said softly. Emma confessed, I can't. So many thoughts swirling around. Robert observed her intently for a moment before he chose to speak. Adrien stood up for you this evening. I understand, she murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. But it doesn't alter anything, does it not? He inquired. Emma, you've been acquainted with Adrien since childhood. He stands apart from the rest. That doesn't matter, Dad, she said, shaking her head. He is set to marry Veronica. His life stands alongside those of individuals like her, not alongside me. Robert extended his arm over the table, gently resting his hand on hers. You have consistently undervalued your own abilities. You believe that simply because you spent your formative years in the kitchen, you have no place anywhere else. However, you truly do, Emma. Your position is well-deserved, regardless of others' opinions. Just as Emma was about to reply, the kitchen door let out a soft creak as it swung open. Adrien lingered in the doorway, his tie askew and his shoulders sagging. Their gazes locked, and for an instant, the atmosphere around them became achingly serene. Emma, he murmured gently, may we have a conversation? Robert offered her a slight nod before standing up from his chair. I'll leave you two alone for a bit. Once her father had departed, Adrien moved in closer, his actions tentative. I wanted to reach out and see how you're doing after everything that unfolded tonight. I'm fine, Emma replied hastily, yet her tone revealed the truth. No need to concern yourself with my well-being. Yet I do, Adrien declared, his tone resolute. What Veronica expressed to you was inappropriate, and I regret that you had to endure that experience. There's no need for you to apologize on her behalf, Emma remarked, her grip on the cup growing firmer. It's not your fault. Adrien paused, his eyes probing into hers. Perhaps that's true, yet I take responsibility for allowing circumstances to escalate to this point. Emma gazed up at him, her heart racing. What do you mean? I'm saying, Adrien's voice faded, his fingers combing through his hair. I find myself at a loss, unsure of my direction. This wedding, this life I've been crafting, it doesn't resonate as my own. And tonight I came to the understanding that I've been attempting to impose something that simply doesn't fit. Emma took a deep breath. Adrien, you can't simply... I'm not requesting anything, he interjected softly. I want you to understand that you are worthy of more than what transpired this evening, and I will ensure it doesn't occur again. For an extended moment, they simply gazed at one another. With that, Adrien turned and exited the kitchen, leaving Emma to grapple with her thoughts and a myriad of unanswered questions. The following morning, the estate was more subdued than normal. The echoes of last night's dispute hung heavily in the atmosphere, accompanied by hushed conversations among the staff and a palpable strain among the family members. Emma focused intently on her tasks in the kitchen, intent on remaining unnoticed. The less attention she attracted, the more at ease she felt. However, the solitude was fleeting. Veronica's voice echoed through the hall, piercing and authoritative. I expect everything to be prepared by this afternoon, with no errors this time around. Emma let out a soft sigh, her attention fixed on the dough beneath her hands as she kneaded it with care. She was well aware of the consequences of crossing paths with Veronica, particularly after the events that had unfolded. Yet, amidst her efforts, her thoughts remained in constant turmoil. Adrien's words from the previous night resonated in her mind. As she slid the dough into the oven, her father entered the room, his expression unusually grave. "Emma," Robert murmured gently, entering the room. "May I have a moment of your time to converse?" She cleaned her hands on her apron and gave a nod. "What is it exactly?" He paused, surveying his surroundings to confirm their solitude. "There's a crucial piece of information you should be aware of." Emma scowled. "What's happening?" Robert rested against the counter, a look of concern etched on his face. "When Adrien's mother was alive, she shared with me her aspirations for him. She hoped he would discover a person he genuinely cherished, someone who would bring him joy, rather than someone like Veronica." Emma blinked, momentarily stunned. "What prompts you to share this information with me at this moment?" "Because," Robert said thoughtfully, "you've always held significance for Adrien, even if you don't realize it. Last night served as a clear reminder that he still remembers that well." Emma turned away, a look of disbelief crossing her face. "Father, please cease. This holds no significance. Adrien is now committed. He belongs to their realm. I am not." "Once more, you're not giving yourself enough credit," Robert stated with conviction. "However, if you choose not to heed my words, I urge you to reflect on your desires. Do not allow fear to dictate your choices." Just as Emma was about to reply, the kitchen door burst open. One of the maids stepped in, her complexion ashen. "Emma, Miss Veronica is requesting your presence in the dining room." Emma felt a heavy weight in her chest. What is it that she desires at this moment? "She didn't say," the maid replied, her voice trembling. "But she certainly didn't seem pleased." Emma entered the dining room, her movements deliberate and unhurried. Veronica lingered near the majestic table, perusing a leather-bound notebook with intent. She glanced up as Emma neared, her demeanor frosty. "You took your time," Veronica remarked, closing the book with a decisive snap. "I trust you know that Adrien and I had a bit of a clash last night." Emma steeled herself to maintain her composure. "That doesn't concern me, Miss Davenport." "Oh, but it truly is," Veronica remarked, moving in closer, "for you have somehow woven yourself into our lives in a manner that is becoming troubling." Emma tensed. "I'm not quite sure I understand your point." "Don't act like you don't know," Veronica snapped. "You've been hovering near Adrien, sowing thoughts in his mind. I see what's happening here." "I haven't done anything," Emma said, her voice unwavering despite the palpable tension. "I've merely been fulfilling my duties," Veronica chuckled, though her laughter was devoid of warmth and mirth. "What do you do for a living?" "Your role is to remain in the shadows and adhere to instructions, not to interfere in matters beyond your comprehension." Emma tightened her fists, a surge of fury building within her. "I keep my distance, and I absolutely do not warrant this kind of treatment." Veronica's smile vanished, giving way to a menacing spark in her gaze. "You believe you have it all figured out, don't you? However, I want to clarify something important. Adrien belongs to me. Your fantasies about him, the dreams you believe you can pursue, all come to a halt now. If you dare to cross me again, I will ensure that you and your father are out of this house in the blink of an eye." Emma gazed at her, the gravity of Veronica's threat settling in. For a brief instant, she contemplated pushing back, holding her position. Yet deep down, she understood it would only exacerbate the situation. Instead, she gave a curt nod and turned to walk away. With her heart racing, she stepped out of the room and began to meander through the corridors of the estate. The recollections of her youth spent in this place, frolicking with Adrien and wandering through the magnificent rooms, seemed to belong to a different era. Now those same halls seemed frigid and uninviting. Her feet guided her to a section of the house she hadn't explored in years, the library. She paused at the threshold, the aroma of aged pages enveloping her senses as she entered. The stillness enveloped her, a serene balm for her weary soul. She glided her fingers over the shelves, her thoughts swirling with all that had transpired. Her hand lingered on a hefty, dust-covered tome. She yanked it down, and a neatly folded piece of paper tumbled out, dancing its way to the floor. Intrigued, she grasped it and carefully opened it up. The script was elegant, recognizable. A letter was addressed to Adrien. My beloved Adrien, I understand that there will come a time when you must face tough choices, yet I trust you will hold on to what is essential: compassion, affection, and discovering someone who appreciates you for your true self. Resist the pressure of others' expectations and carve out a life that truly belongs to you. With all my affection, Mother. Emma gazed at the letter, her heart racing. Adrien's mother had penned this, but what was the reason for its concealment here? What was it about this moment that made it seem destined to be discovered? The echo of footsteps in the corridor pulled her abruptly from her reverie. With swift movements, she folded the letter and slipped it into her pocket, her thoughts swirling with uncertainty. Whatever this signified, she sensed it would alter the course of everything. Emma hardly found rest that night. The letter felt burdensome in her pocket, her thoughts struggling to comprehend why Adrien's mother had concealed such an emotional message, and why it resonated so deeply at this moment. By morning, she had made up her mind to give it back to Adrien. He had to witness it, to grasp the vision his mother had held for him. Still, a thread of uncertainty remained. What if revealing this would only complicate matters further? The day drifted by in a blur of tasks and feeble efforts to remain unnoticed. Emma was resolute in her efforts to steer clear of Veronica, no matter the circumstances. She understood that their clash the day before was anything but settled. By mid-afternoon, her determination wavered as a maid approached her in the kitchen. "Miss Emma," the girl uttered, twisting her hands nervously. "Miss Veronica has requested your presence in the solarium." Emma felt a heavy weight in her chest. Did she explain the reason? The maid gave a slight shake of her head. Simply a matter of urgency. Emma felt her heart race as she cleaned her hands on her apron. It was clear to her why Veronica sought her out. The tension from last night had been building up like an impending storm. With a sense of hesitation, she navigated the corridors, each step weighed down by an overwhelming sense of foreboding. As Emma stepped into the solarium, she found Veronica positioned by the expansive windows, facing away from the entrance. Without a glance back, she remained still as Emma entered, the quietness creating an unsettling atmosphere. "Have you summoned me, Miss Davenport?" Emma inquired with caution. Veronica finally turned, her expression calm, yet her eyes burned with anger. She raised a sheet of paper. Emma felt a sinking sensation in her stomach as she immediately recognized the letter from Adrien's mother. "Could you clarify this for me?" Veronica's voice carried a husky, menacing quality. Emma felt a parched sensation in her mouth. Where did you come across that?" "It doesn't matter where I find it," Veronica snapped, stepping closer. "The important thing is that you were prying into matters that are none of your concern. So, you believe you can leverage this against me, do you?" Emma's voice remained composed, even as her heart raced with intensity. "I wasn't prying. It was a serendipitous discovery in the library. Adrien's mother penned it, and I believed he should have the opportunity to read it." Veronica let out a harsh laugh, her tone laced with spite. "Oh, how admirable of you. Do you genuinely believe this alters anything? Do you believe that some emotional drivel from his deceased mother could really cause him to abandon me?" "I'm not trying to make him abandon anyone," Emma said, her voice elevating just a bit. "I had a feeling. You believed you could weasel your way into his world, didn't you?" Veronica's tone became more cutting, her poise unraveling. "This is the moment you've been anticipating, isn't it? Feigning innocence as a mere cook while attempting to take him away from me." Emma took a step back, her frustration igniting even in the face of her trepidation. "I have no intention of taking anything from anyone. Adrien is capable of making his own choices. If you showed him the respect he deserves, perhaps you wouldn't have to fear losing him." The phrases struck true. Veronica's cheeks burned with fury as she advanced a step nearer. Pay attention, you insignificant person. This is not your place. You haven't done that at any point. If you honestly believe that Adrien would pick you over me, then you're even more sad than I ever imagined. Emma stood resolute, unwavering in her stance. Perhaps I feel out of place, yet that doesn't justify your treatment of others. Adrien is worthy of so much more than that. Veronica's hand quivered, a fleeting impulse to strike Emma flickering through her mind. Yet she restrained herself. Instead, her voice fell to a perilous whisper. This is your final notice. Keep your distance, or I will ensure that you and your father find yourselves without a home by day's end. A shiver ran down Emma's spine at the threat, yet she maintained her composure. With a decisive turn, she exited the solarium, her fists tightly clenched at her sides. Despite the weight of Veronica's piercing gaze on her back, she pressed on, not halting until she vanished from view. Later that evening, Emma discovered Adrien in the library, settled by the fireplace, a glass of scotch cradled in his hand. With a loosened tie and a distant expression, he stared intently at the flickering flames. He raised his gaze as she walked in, a frown of worry creasing his forehead. Emma, he said, placing his glass on the table. What seems to be the issue? She paused, uncertain of where to start. At last, she delved into her pocket and retrieved the letter, extending it toward him. I discovered this yesterday. Comes from your mother. Adrien grasped the letter, his face a mask of contemplation as he carefully unfolded it and started to read. The stillness of the room was punctuated only by the soft crackle of the fire. Upon completing his task, he raised his gaze to Emma, his eyes brimming with a blend of sorrow and an unspoken emotion, perhaps a sense of appreciation. She concealed this, Adrien murmured gently, almost as if speaking to himself rather than to her. She hoped I would discover it when the time was right. Emma nodded, her mind racing for the right words. She could perceive the emotions swirling behind his eyes, the gravity of his mother's words settling in. Thank you, Adrien said, his voice firm yet laden with significance. For bringing this to me. Is something you should definitely experience, Emma responded. I believe it's important for you to be aware of her wishes for you. Adrien held her gaze for an extended moment, his eyes probing into hers. He meticulously folded the letter and placed it gently into his pocket. This alters the entire landscape, he murmured softly. Emma felt a sense of uncertainty as she exited the library, an unsettling awareness lingering that the storm was just beginning. The evening following Emma's delivery of the letter to Adrien was filled with unease. The estate lay in silence, yet an unmistakable tension lingered within its walls. Emma reclined in her modest room, gazing at the ceiling, her mind whirling in a ceaseless dance. What are Adrien's next steps? Could the letter ultimately prompt him to reach a conclusion? Or would he allow everything to revert to the uncomfortable balance that had existed before? As dawn broke, Emma found herself devoid of answers, burdened only by an unsettling feeling of dread. As she navigated her duties in the kitchen, the staff exchanged quiet murmurs regarding the widening divide between Adrien and Veronica. The whole house appeared to be suspended in silence. As Emma deftly sliced the vegetables, her father, Robert, made his way into the kitchen. His face bore the marks of worry. Emma, he murmured gently, Adrien's out in the garden. He's looking for you. She stood still, her grip on the knife becoming more intense. What is the reason? Robert offered her a subtle, understanding smile. I'm sure you're already aware of the reasons. Emma paused, then placed the knife aside and cleaned her hands on her apron. I'll return, she informed the staff before stepping outside. The garden lay in serene stillness, the cool morning breeze wafting the delicate fragrance of roses through the air. Adrien sat on a stone bench under the sprawling branches of the old oak tree, his tie loosened and his jacket carelessly tossed aside. He lifted his gaze as she drew near, his demeanor gentle yet earnest. Emma, he said, rising as she approached him. Thank you for your presence. She halted a short distance away, folding her arms as she examined his expression. What's happening? Adrien motioned toward the bench. Would you care to join me? Emma paused for a moment, then took a seat, maintaining a careful space between them. He inhaled deeply, as if collecting his reflections. He started, I've been reflecting quite a bit since last night. Concerning the letter, regarding my mother, reflecting on all that encompasses. Emma remained quiet, allowing him to express himself. In my youth, Adrien went on, my mother often advised me to pursue my heart's desires. She mentioned that the world would attempt to draw me in countless directions, yet I needed to remain authentic to who I am. For an extended period, I believed I was on the right path, yet at some point, I lost focus on what truly mattered. Emma shifted, feeling uncertain about his direction in this conversation. What truly holds significance? Adrien pivoted to meet her eyes, his expression unwavering. Me. The term lingered in the atmosphere surrounding them, laden with significance. Emma felt a lump in her throat and shook her head in disbelief. Adrien, please refrain from that. Allow me to complete my thought, he interjected softly. This is not a decision made on a whim. You've consistently stood by my side, Emma. You have consistently recognized my true self, beyond my name, wealth, or societal expectations, and I have been oblivious to the significance of that realization. Emma averted her gaze, her fingers restless in her lap. Adrien, this is quite intricate. You are now committed. Your existence is elevated. You're not merely anything, Adrien stated with conviction. You are the one individual who allows me to embrace my true self, and I can no longer act as if that holds no significance. She shook her head once more, tears welling at the edges of her eyes. It's more complex than that. A complete life awaits you with Veronica. Ending that would destroy everything. Perhaps everything must be destroyed, Adrien murmured. If it's founded on deception, then it holds no value in preservation. Emma finally met his gaze, her eyes probing his. What if you find yourself regretting this down the line? What if you come to see me as merely a diversion? You're not a distraction, Adrien stated, his voice unwavering. You are the sole element that resonates with authenticity. Her determination faltered, yet the uncertainty continued to eat away at her. Adrien, this goes beyond just the two of us. Veronica, she won't be able to move on from this. She will pursue me and then my father. Her threats have already cast a shadow over us. His expression grew grim. She won't lay a finger on you, I won't allow it. Emma yearned to trust him, yet the heaviness of the circumstances loomed over her like an insurmountable burden. She rose suddenly, retreating a step. Time is what I require. I am unable to. I can't simply dive into this, Adrien acknowledged, rising to his feet as well. Feel free to take as much time as you require. I wanted to share my feelings with you. Emma pivoted and strode away, her heart racing in her chest. She pressed on, unwilling to confront the shadows that lingered behind her. That evening, the estate exuded an unusual stillness. Veronica had vanished from sight, leaving Adrien to withdraw into the solitude of his study. Emma struggled to concentrate on her tasks, yet her mind continually wandered to the garden, to Adrien's remarks, to the fragility reflected in his gaze. After tidying up the kitchen, her father came over, his face a mask of calmness. Emma, I have something important to share with you. What is it exactly? She inquired, drying her hands on a towel. Robert spoke softly. Veronica's been consulting with lawyers. She's grappling with the weight of a potentially cancelled wedding. Emma felt a sinking sensation in her stomach. What does that signify? Robert let out a deep breath. It signifies that she's gearing up for a confrontation, and should Adrien proceed with this, she'll ensure that everyone faces the consequences. Emma sank into her seat, thoughts swirling chaotically. The tension loomed larger than she had anticipated, leaving her uncertain about her preparedness for the impending events. However, one thing stood out unmistakably. No matter what unfolded thereafter, her existence would be irrevocably altered. 2 days drifted by in a tense quiet. Veronica seldom graced the estate with her presence, yet her influence lingered like a haunting shadow. Emma steered clear of Adrien whenever possible, uncertain of how to handle the emotions his revelation had awakened. In the meantime, the staff exchanged hushed whispers about rumors involving lawyers and veiled threats. Yet none had the courage to approach either Adrien or Veronica directly. On the third morning, the tension finally shattered. As Emma busied herself with breakfast in the kitchen, her father walked in, gripping a thick envelope, his expression dark and serious. "What is that?" she inquired, a sense of foreboding creeping in. "It's a summons," Robert said, setting the envelope down on the counter. "From Veronica's lawyers." Emma gazed at it, her stomach knotting with unease. A call to action? For what purpose? Robert let out a slow breath, the fatigue evident in every contour of his expression. "She is alleging that Adrien has committed defamation and breached their contract. She asserts that she is experiencing emotional distress due to the cancelled wedding and is threatening to tarnish his reputation and that of his family." Emma sensed the color fade from her cheeks. However, the wedding has not been officially called off just yet. Robert cast her a glance filled with understanding. She's not holding out for that. She is taking action at this moment to compel Adrien to respond. She has her sights set on more than just him. She's pulling everyone into this, and that includes you. "Who, me?" Emma's voice trembled. "How is this relevant to me?" "She asserts that you've been meddling in their relationship," Robert said cautiously, suggesting that you've been attempting to weaken her standing and influence Adrien. Emma felt her heart pounding as anxiety washed over her. "That's absurd. I have yet to engage in anything of that nature." "I understand," Robert stated, his tone steady yet resolute, "and Adrien is aware. Yet, this is the way Veronica operates. She's playing dirty." Emma tightened her grip, her fists balling up with determination, fury simmering under her trepidation. "She's determined to sabotage my happiness because she feels powerless over Adrien. Feels unjust. Life seldom unfolds as we expect," Robert remarked, gently resting his hand on her shoulder. "However, caution is essential, Emma. This situation extends beyond your personal concerns now. Concerns each and every one of us." As the day wore on, Emma found herself wandering back and forth in the cozy sitting room next to the library. It had been a while since she last laid eyes on Adrien, ever since the letter arrived. Yet, she found herself in search of answers. She could no longer turn a blind eye to the turmoil erupting around them. As the door let out a haunting creak and Adrien entered, she stood motionless. "Emma," he said, his voice heavy with fatigue, "I was searching for you." "So you finally tracked me down," she said with a pointed tone, her arms crossed defiantly. "I take it you're aware of the lawsuit?" Adrien nodded, his expression somber. "I certainly do. My legal team is currently addressing the matter." "That's not the point," Emma exclaimed, her irritation reaching a peak. "She's mentioning me in it, Adrien. She's intent on ruining both my father and me because of this situation." "I won't allow that," Adrien declared with conviction. "I give you my promise." "That's insufficient," Emma retorted sharply. "It's not enough to merely assure that this will be resolved. Veronica will not be deterred. She is determined to do everything necessary to achieve victory, and you are aware of that." Adrien moved in, his tone gentle and inviting. "This may be difficult, Emma, but you must have faith in me. I will ensure that she poses no threat to you or your father." Emma shook her head, tears welling at the edges of her eyes. "You just don't understand, Adrien. She has already made her choice. My father has dedicated his entire career to this place. If she tarnishes his reputation, what will our next steps be? What actions shall we take?" Adrien extended his hand, softly resting it on her shoulders. "I will look after you, both of you, I assure you." Emma withdrew, her voice quivering. "I prefer to handle things on my own. I seek the assurance that I can navigate my life without the perpetual anxiety of glancing back, anticipating the next onslaught." Adrien's jaw clenched, and for a brief moment, he appeared ready to contest. But then he acquiesced with a nod. "Indeed, you are correct. This situation is unjust for you. It is all devoid of meaning. So what will your next step be?" Emma inquired, her tone unwavering even as a tempest of feelings raged within her. Adrien inhaled deeply, his eyes steady and resolute. I have decided to bring this to a close. For the betterment. By the next morning, the whole estate was alive with chatter. Adrien convened an urgent gathering with his legal team and the representatives of the Davenport family. The atmosphere crackled with intensity as Veronica stepped onto the estate, her demeanor cool and victorious. Emma observed from the periphery as the two factions confronted each other. Veronica's attorney presented their requirements: a significant monetary agreement, a formal apology, and assurance that Adrien would refrain from seeking any relationship with Emma. Adrien's jaw tightened, yet he maintained a steady tone as he replied, "The wedding has been called off. I refuse to express regret for defending someone who was unjustly treated. Regarding your financial requests, I will leave it to the courts to determine." Veronica's eyes sparkled with fury. "Do you really believe you can simply turn your back on me? You'll come to wish you hadn't, Adrien." "Perhaps," he murmured softly. "However, I would feel an even greater sense of regret if I were to marry someone I don't trust." Veronica rose suddenly, the sound of her chair dragging harshly across the floor echoing in the room. With a final, piercing glare directed at Adrien, she stormed out, her lawyer hastily following in her wake. As the last of the crowd dissipated, Adrien faced Emma, his demeanor tired yet determined. "It is complete," he stated plainly. Emma yearned for solace, yet what enveloped her was a profound, unsettling doubt. "Is it really?" she inquired gently. "I believe she hasn't completed her work yet." Adrien remained silent. He simply gazed at her, his quietude conveying more than any spoken phrase ever might. The repercussions of Adrien's choice arrived with remarkable speed. Veronica's exit from the estate created a palpable void of tension, soon to be filled with a whirlwind of chaos. The news of the shattered engagement and ensuing lawsuit rippled through social circles with astonishing speed. For days, journalists lingered outside the Sinclair estate gates, eager for insights into the Millionaire scandal. Within the confines of the room, the staff exchanged hushed murmurs regarding the unfolding events, yet none had the courage to address Emma or Adrien face to face. Emma immersed herself in the kitchen, dedicating her energy to her tasks to escape the lingering gazes and whispers around her. Her departure did not bring the relief she expected. Instead, it deepened her sense of unease. Though Veronica had departed from the estate, her presence continued to resonate. Emma sensed it, akin to a tempest brewing in the distance. Late one evening, as Emma tidied up the final dinner plates, she sensed footsteps approaching from behind her. She glanced over to see Adrien framed in the doorway, his shirt sleeves casually rolled up and his tie hanging loosely. He appeared utterly drained. "Emma," he murmured gently, entering the kitchen. "May we have a conversation?" She stood tall, drying her hands on a towel. "What is it exactly?" Adrien paused, resting against the counter. "I wish to express my gratitude to you, for all things, for your continued presence. Even when circumstances became chaotic." Emma let out a sharp, humorless laugh, her head shaking in disbelief. "Staying here isn't really an option for me, Adrien. This is where I reside, the residence of my father." "I understand," he replied, his tone heavy with remorse. "And I despise that this has placed you at the center of it all. That was never my desire." "There was no need for you to desire it," Emma responded. "It occurred regardless." Adrien acknowledged her words with a nod. In that fleeting instant, the kitchen was enveloped in silence. He then remarked, "I've been reflecting deeply on your words, on the desire for independence." Emma gazed at him, a crease forming on her forehead. "What about it?" "You have a point," he replied. "I've been attempting to resolve matters using the methods I've always learned, by pouring resources into the issue, in an effort to safeguard you. However, that isn't what you require. That's not what I'm looking for, either." Emma folded her arms tightly, her heart racing in her chest. "What exactly are you trying to convey?" "I want to begin anew," Adrien declared, his tone unwavering. "Without financial burdens, familial obligations, or societal expectations. Only we. I seek to understand my true self beyond all of this. I wish to embark on this journey alongside you. Emma gazed at him, her feelings a complex web of anticipation and anxiety. Adrien, you can't simply turn your back on your existence. It's more complex than that. He acknowledged the complexity of the situation. However, I am open to giving it a shot. I have already consulted with my legal team regarding the sale of the estate. I'll hold on to just what I need to manage. However, the remainder holds no significance for me now. Her breath hitched in her throat. Would you sacrifice it all for a life that truly resonates? Indeed, Adrien replied promptly. However, I will not proceed unless you are involved in that existence. Emma averted her gaze, thoughts swirling in a chaotic dance. She yearned to trust him, to have faith that they could create something meaningful together. Yet the wounds from the recent weeks were profound. The lingering fear of what Veronica might still do haunted her thoughts. I don't know, Adrien, she said at last, her voice scarcely rising above a whisper. This is quite overwhelming. He acknowledged this with a nod. Feel free to take as much time as you require. I wanted to share my feelings with you. Emma averted her eyes, a silent agreement hanging in the air. Adrien paused for a heartbeat, then pivoted and exited the kitchen, leaving her to navigate the labyrinth of her own thoughts. The following morning, Emma found herself seated at the modest table in her room, gazing at the sunlight pouring in through the window. With a gentle rap on the door, her father entered the room. You've been unusually quiet, Robert remarked, sitting across from her. I'm at a loss, Emma confessed. Adrien expresses a desire to abandon everything, yet one must ponder the possibility of future regret. What if this is merely a transient moment? Robert observed her intently for a moment before he began to speak. Is he someone you can rely on? Emma paused for a moment, then gave a slight nod. I believe I do. Then have faith that he understands the path ahead, Robert said softly. Adrien has changed from the boy you once knew. He has matured just as you have. If he's prepared to stand up for this, perhaps it's something worth standing up for as well. Emma gazed at her hands, her father's words enveloping her in a comforting embrace. She yearned to trust him. She held on to the hope that this might actually succeed. Thank you, Dad, she murmured gently. Robert beamed and gently clasped her hand. No matter the outcome, my pride in you remains unwavering. Make sure to keep that in mind. As the day drew to a close, Emma had reached her conclusion. As she emerged into the garden, where Adrien lingered beneath the oak tree, her heart fluttered with a blend of trepidation and exhilaration. He glanced upward upon noticing her, his demeanor wary. I've been pondering, Emma started, her tone unwavering. If you truly want to begin anew, I'm open to giving it a shot. But it has to be a joint effort. There's no escaping, no evasion, and no looking back. Adrien rose to his feet, a true smile lighting up his face. Together, he reiterated, no regrets. After weeks of uncertainty, a flicker of hope finally sparked within Emma. No matter what challenges awaited them, they would confront them together. Perhaps, just perhaps, there might be a path to make it all come together. The sale of the Sinclair estate wrapped up in mere weeks, the news rippling through Adrien's social circle like a sudden storm. The once magnificent estate, adorned with expansive gardens and corridors resonating with tales of the past, was set to transform into a charming boutique hotel under fresh stewardship. For Adrien, it signified the conclusion of one phase and the dawn of another. Emma lingered in the kitchen one final time, her fingers gently gliding over the countertops that had borne witness to countless memories over the years. Robert, her father, approached her and placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. Are you prepared for this? He inquired softly. Emma gave a slight nod. It's peculiar indeed. Departing from this location, it has been my entire existence. Robert offered a subtle smile. It's merely a structure, Emma. What truly counts is the creation that lies ahead. Emma faced him, her eyes reflecting a blend of anxiety and exhilaration. Are you really comfortable with the idea of retiring early? I'm aware that this is a significant shift. Robert let out a soft laugh. For years, I've been poised for a significant transformation. Moreover, I believe it's high time I shifted my attention away from this family and began concentrating on my own. She beamed, wrapping her arms around him briefly before stepping out to join Adrien. Adrien stood by the packed moving truck, patiently waiting near the driveway. His expression brightened at the sight of Emma coming closer. She observed the delicate change in his demeanor recently, a buoyancy that had previously been absent, as if he had at last released the burden of the Sinclair name. "Ready to go?" Adrien inquired, his demeanor relaxed, yet his gaze probing into hers. Emma gave a slight nod. "Everything is ready. My dad is moving to a cozier spot close by. It seems he might be harboring a quiet thrill at the prospect of experiencing life beyond this estate." Adrien smiled broadly. "Excellent. He truly deserves it." She cast a fleeting look at the moving truck before turning her gaze back to him. "What about you? Do you truly feel prepared for this?" "Just a humble bakery, with no grand estate or hired help, just the two of us at the helm." He chuckled, a bemused smile crossing his face. "I have never felt more prepared for anything. I aspire to rise each morning with the assurance that I am creating something tangible, something we can take pride in." Emma observed him intently for a brief moment, then a smile spread across her face. "Understood. Let's get started." The initial weeks in their new existence proved to be quite challenging. Adrien and Emma discovered a quaint spot on the edge of town and set to work transforming it into their ideal bakery. The days stretched on, consumed by construction, paperwork, and a seemingly infinite cycle of planning. Adrien, unfamiliar with physical work, soon realized the toll it could take, yet he never voiced a single complaint. Emma, in that moment, discovered a profound sense of purpose that was entirely new to her. For the first time, she found herself in a kitchen that was entirely her own. This belonged to her. Each recipe, each choice, every nuance was crafted by her hand. It was a mix of fear and excitement. One evening, after a long day of toil, they found themselves on the floor of the incomplete bakery, enjoying a takeout pizza together. The aroma of fresh paint hung in the atmosphere, while the counter they had crafted together stood prominently in the backdrop. "This place is going to be incredible," Adrien remarked, savoring a slice of pizza. "I can already envision it. Individuals queuing outside for your delectable pastries." Emma chuckled, giving him a playful nudge. "Our pastries, you're involved in this now, don't forget?" He arched an eyebrow. "Ah, that brings back memories. Let's face it, the true brilliance lies with you. I'm merely the individual who hoists substantial weights and sometimes toasts bread a bit too much." She shook her head, a playful smile dancing at the corners of her lips. "Your presence means everything. I couldn't achieve this without your support." Adrien's demeanor shifted gently, and he extended his hand toward hers. "There's no obligation to do so. We stand united in this journey." Emma clasped his hand tightly, a gentle warmth blossoming within her chest. After what seemed like an eternity, a sense of tranquility washed over her. After months of anticipation, on a brisk autumn morning, they finally swung open the bakery's doors to welcome the public. The aroma of freshly baked bread and pastries drifted into the street, drawing in a steady stream of customers, eager and intrigued. By midday, the quaint shop was alive with energy, and Emma and Adrien scarcely found a moment to pause and take a breath. At one moment, Emma glanced up from the counter to find her father seated at a corner table, savoring a cup of coffee and a scone. He offered her a subtle wave, his face radiating pride. Adrien materialized next to her, his apron speckled with flour. "Are you all right?" he inquired, casting a sidelong glance at her. Emma nodded, a broad grin illuminating her features. "Absolutely, I'm doing great." As they toiled together, joy and comfort enveloping them, Emma recognized that this was what she had been seeking all along. A life uniquely hers, a love profoundly genuine, and a future forged from the resilience of all they had faced together. It may not have been flawless nor simple, but it belonged to them, and that sufficed. A year later, the bakery had transformed into a cherished cornerstone of the community. The early hours were filled with the warm scent of freshly baked bread and pastries wafting through the streets, enticing both devoted patrons and curious newcomers. Adrien and Emma toiled diligently, their collaboration in the kitchen as fluid as the deepening bond between them. On a serene morning prior to the door's opening, Emma positioned herself at the counter, carefully embellishing a display cake with precision. Adrien stepped out from the back room, balancing a tray of warm, flaky croissants. "You're improving at those," Emma remarked, casting a look at the golden, perfectly layered pastries. Adrien smiled broadly as he placed the tray on the table. "You question my abilities." "Without fail," she remarked, a smirk playing on her lips. He chuckled, resting against the counter next to her. "What's on the agenda for today?" "Another substantial catering order," Emma responded, concentrating on the elaborate frosting design. "We're almost out of the pecan tarts again," Adrien lamented. "Next time we should aim to double our efforts." "As soon as the morning rush subsides, I'll begin another batch," Emma nodded, her attention briefly diverted by the jingle of the bakery's bell. She looked up to see her father entering, his well-known gait as unwavering as always. "Good morning, Dad," she exclaimed. "Good morning," Robert said, as he took his place at the familiar corner table. He had woven the bakery into the fabric of his daily routine, asserting it was the finest way to begin his day. Adrien often teased that Robert served as their unofficial quality control officer. As patrons started to pour in, Emma and Adrien settled into their groove, navigating the hustle with a seamless grace. Amidst the chaos, with an order mix-up and a burnt tray of muffins, they navigated each situation with laughter and composure. The hours slipped away in a whirlwind of busyness, the sun dipping below the horizon as they wrapped up their day. That evening, while tidying up the bakery, Emma stopped by the expansive window, looking out at the serene street. Adrien approached her, offering a steaming mug of tea. "Care to share what's on your mind?" he inquired. She took a delicate sip of her tea, a subtle smile dancing on her lips. "Reflecting on the journey we've undertaken is quite remarkable. A year ago, this was beyond my wildest dreams." Adrien gazed at her, his demeanor gentle. "I wouldn't either, but I wouldn't exchange it for anything in the world." Emma pivoted to meet his gaze, her smile widening. "Even with the early mornings and the constant flow of dough." "Even then," he murmured, drawing her into a tender embrace. Particularly at that moment. For a time, they lingered in a serene quiet, the distant buzz of the city outside the window echoing the life they had crafted together. Life wasn't without its imperfections. Challenges arose, and doubts occasionally lingered. Yet it was a life they had embraced, and that distinction transformed everything. As they secured the premises for the evening, Adrien cast a fleeting look at Emma, his hand resting momentarily on the door. "Have you ever pondered her thoughts?" Emma was already aware of whom he was referring to. Veronica's absence brought a mix of relief and lingering uncertainty. Since the lawsuit was discreetly dropped months ago, she had not made an appearance, her pride probably preventing her from pursuing retribution in a more overt manner. Occasionally, Emma confessed, though it wasn't a frequent occurrence. "She belongs to yesterday, Adrien. Our place is in the present." He nodded, gently shutting the door and tucking the key away in his pocket. "Indeed, this is what truly holds significance." Side by side, they strolled down the serene street leading to their cozy apartment, the stars shimmering softly above them. It may not have been a lavish existence, but it was authentic, and for the first time in ages, they both experienced a profound sense of liberation. The journey ahead would surely present more obstacles, yet they confronted it united, fortified by the resilience they had discovered within one another and within themselves. Their narrative was only just unfolding, and for Adrien and Emma, that was more than sufficient.